has a degree of 2. And so when we're talking about a quadratic, the most standard form, so standard form being like the basic equation for a quadratic, is this: ax squared plus bx plus c. A, B, C are just numbers. X stays as a variable. So what makes it a quadratic again? Degree of 2. If you see that squared, that's a quadratic. When graphed, a quadratic equation creates a U-shaped curve called a parabola, not a parabola. Parabola. That's a fun word from yesterday. Parabola, not a parabola. I know it looks like parabola, but it's not. Okay, as you see in the equation, standard form has A, B, and C. We're going to start by identifying A, B, and C, which you did a little bit when you did factoring, because we factored a lot of quadratics. Look at the first one. It only has the x squared term. So A is the number in front of x squared. So A is 5. What do you suppose B is? 0, because you can do this, plus 0x plus 0. So it's missing some pieces. So your B is 0, your C is 0. So if you don't have 3, you're going to have to figure out which one is missing. Again, the number in front of x squared, that's always your A. So A is -2. B is the number in front of x. What is B? 0. There's no B, so you'd have to add in plus 0x. And then C is 7. So B is 0, C is 7. Yeah, Jackson?
If it's not, like, does it have to be squared, that first one?
Has to be. If it isn't, it's not a quadratic. That's what makes it a quadratic. That's what makes it a parabola. That fun shape. Okay, and the last one, it does have all 3 terms. What number is in front of x squared right now? 1. And this guy has a -1. So 1 is A, -1 is B, -3 is C. Cool. We talked about opening up or opening down yesterday. Parabolas either open up and look like a smiley face. We'll give it some little eyes. Or they open down and they look like a frowny face. Aw, sad. So up or down. What determines that is the A value. Is A greater than 0 or less than 0? In other words, is A positive or negative? If it's negative, if you're negative, then you have a sad face, frowny face. If you're positive, you're happy. You're opening up, smiley face. Cool. So let's talk about, we talked about this vocab yesterday. So we're going to add on to it just a little bit. The vertex. When the vertex is at the lowest point, it is called the, what do you think? Something at the very lowest point. What can we call it? Do we call it a minimum or a maximum? Minimum. There we go. We know that. Yeah, because it's going to look like this, and the vertex is down here. So it's a minimum. When the vertex is at the highest point, it's called the maximum. Looks like this. So the vertex is at the top. The vertical line of symmetry passing through, so the axis of symmetry is that vertical line of symmetry that passes through, where does it cross? What point does it cross at? You remember? The vertex. Because it goes through the middle. And we have a formula for that. You'll use this a million times today. Negative b over 2a. That's how we figure out what line it is to get the equation for it. Okay, the y-intercept is nothing new. The y-intercept is the point where the parabola crosses what? Y-axis. This is new though. You can easily figure out the y-intercept without even having a graph, because it is always the c value from the standard form equation, which we write as a point, 0, comma, c. Neat. Okay, a couple more things. X-intercepts. Oh, and you got a little picture here, same one from yesterday. The x-intercepts are the points where the parabola crosses what? X-axis. And you have some other names for them that are new. Solutions, roots, or zeros. This is also a review. Domain is all the possible what values? Domain, x values. And range is all the possible y values. In case you forgot, domain goes from left to right. It's the horizontal. Range is from highest to lowest, like this. Okay. That's all the vocab. Now, we're going to apply it. I should have put a little step out here for you. We'll just do it at the top of this. You always start by finding the axis of symmetry. Let's do that first. We do that by using x equals negative b over 2a. That's that equation you saw on the front for the axis of symmetry. Do that first. And then, after you do that, whatever x value you get, plug in x to get y. Because that will get you the vertex. Same process every single time. Of course, we're going to identify A, B, and C first because that makes our lives easier. We're going to do number 1 first, obviously. Okay, number 1 is negative 3x squared plus 6x plus 2. What's A, guys? Negative 3. What is B? 6. What is C? Okay. Helpful to figure that out first. You know based on the A value right now, it's a negative 3. Does it open up or down? That is a negative sad face parabola. It opens down. And since it opens down, will it have a maximum or a minimum? Maximum. Okay. That's the basic information. Next, you have to find the axis of symmetry, and then you get the vertex. Axis of symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a. That's your formula to get it. So negative b, so negative 6, over 2 times a, 2 times negative 3. And write it out. I know some of you think you're better than that, but you're not. That would be negative 6. What's 2 times negative 3? Negative 6. So negative 6 divided by negative 6 gives me positive 1. So the axis of symmetry, the line, goes through x equals 1. That's the equation of the line. So write that down. You now know your axis of symmetry is x equals 1. This is a fun part. It's not hard. You just got to be careful with your negatives, please, and your order of operations. To get the y value, you take that point, 1, x equals 1, and you plug it in. So y is equal to negative 3. What do I put instead of x now? 1. Negative 3 in parentheses. Don't let me see you do anything else besides parentheses here. I'm going to get real mad at you. Because that's how we make mistakes. And it's easily prevented. Negative 3 times 1 squared plus 6x. So 6 times 1 in parentheses plus 2. We are taking this equation, and it's the exact same, but I replaced x with 1. Now, order of operations, do it correctly. First thing you have to do is the exponents. What is 1 squared? It's not 2. Please don't say 2. 1 squared is 1 times 1, which is 1. So you're doing negative 3 times 1 plus 6 times 1 plus 2. Now do the multiplication. So negative 3 plus 6 plus 2. This one is easy. Now you can add them all up. Negative 3 plus 6 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So y is equal to 5. You have two numbers, x equals 1, y equals 5. You now have the vertex. The reason we plug in the axis of symmetry is because the axis of symmetry goes through the vertex. So this is the x value for the vertex. Plug it into the equation to get the y. So the vertex is at 1, 5. The y-intercept you do not need to solve for. Do you remember which value is the y-intercept?
C.
C. So the y-intercept is at 2. 0, 2. The last thing I want you to do is just draw a little sketch. All you got to do for me, this is a parabola that opens down with a maximum at this vertex. So we're going to draw a little parabola. And we're going to put a point at the top. And we're going to label that point 1, 5. That's the vertex. I also would like to see you draw a little dashed line through the middle to show that's your axis of symmetry. The same process every time. Once you get the basic information, axis of symmetry, plug it in to get the vertex, to get the y. We're going to do one more together. We're going to do number 3, actually. So the one right below it. Number 3, negative 5x squared plus 10. It only has 2 terms, so it's missing something. What's A?
Negative 5.
Negative 5. What is B?
0.
0. B is what's in front of x. And there is nothing. What's C? 10. The A value is negative. Will it open up or down? Down. And since it opens down, will it have a max or min? Max. Okay, our next job is to find the axis of symmetry. Negative b over 2a. That'll give us the x value for the vertex and the line. Negative b. b is 0. So it's going to be negative 0 over 2 times negative 5. Guys, if the 0 is on top, what's 0 divided by anything? Lovely. This is an easy one. Because of that, if there ends up being a 0 on top of the b value 0, that means that it's centered on the y-axis. So the axis of symmetry is at x equals 0. All it's done is moved up or down. The vertex, now you got to plug in 0 to get your y value. Negative 5 times 0 squared plus 10. What is 0 squared? 0. So you're doing negative 5 times 0 plus 10, which is just 0 plus 10. So what's your y value? 10. So you got your x value and your y value. So you have your vertex at 0, 10. And what's my y-intercept? 10. It's actually the same thing. So this is a parabola that opens down. Draw me a little sketch. Has a maximum at the top at the point 0, 10, which also happens to be the y-intercept. Draw your little axis of symmetry through it so you understand that it goes through the vertex. Okay. There are